Moving on to our next product panel on colored beans, red speckled, sponsored by Triaki Agro. As I call on our moderator and panelists on the stage, I've got to remind you that since it's the third day and we might have forgotten the rules of the first 2 days, please ensure that your mobiles, connected devices, etc. are on silent while you're in the hall. And at the end of the session, at the discretion of the moderator and time permitting, we'll have a question and answer session. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to request our moderator to please grace the dais and take a seat while I call on her panelists. On this panel, colored beans, red and speckled, please welcome a gentleman who did ask a very interesting question to the last presenter, Eric DeFrancoisi, Vice President, Agro-Haribec Incorporated, Canada. Sir. Eric's been in the international trade since 1981, introduced bean production in Quebec in 1988. He founded Agro-Haribec with Pierre Bourdieu in 1993 and established Agro-Haribec as a top quality supplier for Canberra beans. He's been a member of CICILS since 1985. Founding member and former chairman of Quebec Agri-Food Exporters Association and former vice president of CICILS North America. Eric is on the board of directors of various charity organizations and he's here with us today. Thank you, sir. Joining up, please welcome Director Yihai Kerry Group of Wilma International China, Zhang Yi. He's the director of the Pulses division of Yihai Kerry Group, which is a subsidiary of Wilma in China. Wilma is a leading agribusiness group in Asia, including the Chinese market, and ranked top 500 enterprise of Fortune. He's been around for around 20 years, with 20 years experience in the business, including at organizations like COFCO, Nobel, etc. He represents the Chinese sports industry on the executive committee of CICILS IPTEC from 2009, currently as its vice president. He is one of the main importers for peas to the Chinese market. Joining this eminent panel, we also have a gentleman who started very young at his father's grocery market store at the age of 18, and in a little while, with his elder brothers, he got into the wholesale trading business, finally warehousing and logistics. In 1984, they ventured into the pulses and dry cereals business, and by the late 80s, successful enough to purchase 2 food industries in the Vincenza area, that's Bosco's dried mushrooms and Tulipano cake mix. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Remo Pedon, CEO, Accos Pedon, Italy. Since the 90s, the Pedon Group is one of the leading Italian traders, and Accos, as you know, which is the group's agricultural supplies trading arm, is known internationally. The force behind Accos is its CEO, Remo Pedon, who's with us here. It's now time to welcome a gentleman whose family has been to the pulses business for over a century. He's the 4th generation of the family to be in the business of dry and canned pulses. Started, of course, when he was young. In fact, even while he was studying for his business administration MBA degree, he joined the business. In 2007, he took over from his father as CEO of the company, one of the world's better-known companies, member of the Spanish Pulse Association, Legumbras Penellas. Please welcome its CEO, Pedro Alvarez. To moderate this discussion is a lady with a wealth of experience, absolutely hands-on. She's the CEO of Chippewa Valley Bean, a family-owned agribusiness which grows, processes, and markets dark and light red kidney beans grown in the United States. Chippewa Valley is known internationally as the premier supplier of kidney beans, providing the customers confidence in quality and food safety. Cindy also serves on the executive of CICILS IPTEC. She is a GAFTA-trained CICILS mediator, past chair of the American Pulse Association, past president of the US Dry Bean Council. Her focus in industry organizations has been to create awareness on the health benefits of pulses. Cindy also serves on the board of the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Chippewa Valley Bean, USA, Cindy Brown. Moderate this discussion.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor to be here. This CICILS conference is by far the best that we've had yet, and I think there's more to come as our organization continues to grow and meets the needs beyond all of our expectations. This morning's panel is made up of some very experienced people, and I know you're all anxious to hear what our projections are for colored beans in 2013. Last year when we had our panels, I think there was some concern because we didn't have statistics or numbers to take away at the end of the conference. So our panelists today have put together some slides which will give you general ideas of what production is in their various regions, and they will have those slides posted on the CICILS website for you to review later. So this morning, however, they will touch basically on the statistics, and then they will talk to you about what they see as challenges in each of their production regions. Now, our first three presenters will cover pulse production in various parts of the world, and then when we get to Mr. Alvarez, he will talk more about production in Spain and how the production has shifted to other types of crops, and he will focus on some of the hard tasks as far as selling product to end users, such as supermarkets. So as we look at our panel, we have a broad base of information to share, and I hope that you'll have a lot of questions when we finish. So I'd first like to invite Eric forward to the dais here, and from there on we will just go through each of our presentations and look for questions to follow. Thank you.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank Dan Sturt of DW Sturt & Co. from Michigan, and Kevin Sarchuk from Veriterra Canada, as well as Cindy Brown for helping me to put together this little presentation. The production of colored beans in North America, in Canada, and in the US is basically along the Canadian-US border. So on the Canadian side, you have the provinces of Quebec, Ontario, and Manitoba, as well as the province of Alberta further west. On the American side, the largest state is North Dakota, but you also have a large production in Michigan, in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and as well as a few other states like Colorado, California, and Nebraska. So for our friends from India and the Indian subcontinent, you have noticed that I didn't mention Saskatchewan, which is a word which we will probably pronounce the best, because this is the land for lentils and peas. But this is not the land for beans, so we are not going to talk of Saskatchewan today. The situation of the or location of these states and provinces is making them also suitable for the production of corn and soybeans. And I'm going to go back to this a little bit later because this is a very important element. So you presently have a slide. Actually, you will have two slides going colored bean by colored bean. You have the US and the Canadian forecast, or past and forecast acreage, as well as production. I will call this presentation, or I could call this presentation, the addition of the minuses. And you will quickly understand why. So I'm not going to take figure by figure, but what I'm going to do is basically compare 2013 versus 2012 and 2013 vis-a-vis the 5-year average. So, and I'm not going to separate Canada and the US because that would be a little bit too many figures. And in the end, you don't really care about splitting because whether you originate from Canada or the US is basically going more or less to the same markets. So pinto beans are mostly grown in North Dakota and Manitoba. The estimated acreage was this year is down 20% versus last year. But what is more important, it is down 10% versus the 5-year average. So it's not just a result of a last year large planting. In terms of the expected production, thanks to a carryover, the available tonnage should be down only 15%. The second largest is the black beans. They're also grown in North Dakota, Michigan, and on the Canadian side in Manitoba. Here too, 20% down on acreage in 2013, and 19% down versus the 5-year average. Again, the large carryover will help cushion a little bit, and the availability of product might be down 14%. The reason for the black bean reduction is definitely on the low prices, basically, which the farmers had to go through, as well as the main reason, which I'm going to come back later, i.e. the corn and the soybeans. Dark red kidney beans is actually the variety. I think I have to switch. I don't see very well from here. Let me see my page. Yeah, dark red, sorry, I have to change page. Dark red kidney beans are resisting the best of all the colored beans. They estimated that it will be down only 2%, but still down 10% versus the 5-year average. The production might be around, and including, of course, the carryover, so availability might be down about 7%. One of the reasons why dark red kidney bean is resisting better is because they got better prices, and they also get a better support from the EU canners, who want to definitely maintain the production for this quality product from the US. Mostly grown in Minnesota, Wisconsin. Then you have smaller varieties, the light red kidney beans, again, minus 5% versus last year, minus 15% versus 5-year average. Availability, minus 10% is anticipated. Small red beans, there you have a situation which is a little bit specific, because you have a split between the situation in Canada, which is much smaller production, and the US. For the other types, we basically have really a mirror situation on both sides of the border in terms of figures or evolution. For the small reds, which are grown in Alberta, where there is no corn, the acreage is anticipated to remain more or less the same. On the American side, though, it might be down by 10%. For these beans, however, that would still be 10% above the 5-year average. The availability, thanks to the stocks carryover, might be basically the same, minus 1%. Pink beans, minus 2% versus last year. Again, for that small variety, in this case, we also have 10% above the 5-year average. The availability will probably be around 7%, down 7%, minus 7%. Cranberry beans, are we still on the same slide? No, I think I have to go back. Yes, cranberry beans. Again, minus 12% versus 2012, and minus 17 versus the 5-year average. And if I may talk of Quebec and Ontario, we are more down 65% versus 5 years ago. So, of course, the 5-year average has been declining, but if we look at 5 years ago, we are down 65%. The availability of the product should also go down. There is no carryover whatsoever, so it should be around minus 13%. So, you see there is really a trend of not only 2013 versus 2012, but 2013 vis-à-vis the 5-year average. The main reason for this is the price of corn. These beans are grown in, except for the small reds in Alberta, these beans are grown in regions where corn grow very well, and soya as well. So we cannot compete, not only in terms of price, but we cannot compete with the fact that farmers are making so good money with the corn that they are really not interested to take any risk with the beans. So we have a major problem there. The other element is that we are losing farmers in the way that growing beans is far more difficult, and you need to be far more sophisticated farmer compared to growing corn and growing soybeans. So each time a farmer retires, we lose a farmer. The son is not going to take care of maintaining the production of beans because he's making good money with the corn or the soybeans and taking a lot less risk. So that's really one of the major elements which we are facing. And honestly, I'm not sure how we can maintain our production in the future if the corn price continues to be so good. Just to give you an example, for the ones who know a little bit Western Canada, a few years ago there was no soybeans, almost no soybeans grown in Manitoba. Nowadays you have almost 1 million ton, and the production goes as far north as in Interlake, which basically before was considered a very cold region with very few possibilities. You have heard in the previous presentation that there is a lot of snow, a lot of wet fields. This is true for the beans, for the colored beans as well, because basically this is the same region. And that may give us a chance, because probably they will not be able to do any field work until the end of April, which typically the months they plant the corn, and then in May they plant the soybean, and in June they plant the beans. So we may survive the corn, but probably we won't survive the soybeans, because when the weather improves, with the technology with the farmers have today, they can plant very quickly. The problem is even further increased in Ontario and Quebec and Michigan, because they grow a lot of specialty soybeans, for tofu, soya sauce, soya milk, non-GMO, organic, and therefore that gives a premium to the farmer over the crushing soybeans, which makes it even more difficult for the beans to compete. So basically this is the situation which we have to face, and in this context of farmers making good money with corn and soybeans, all the research goes to support the development of new genetic and new technology for the farmers to be even more productive. We don't have this kind of investment in the beans. So basically the gap is progressively becoming bigger and bigger, and honestly, again, I'm not sure how we can catch back. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to give a very brief introduction for Chinese colored beans situation. In China, we have many varieties of colored beans, mainly is like black, light speckled, and also dark red, also some white beans. Yesterday, Daniel Lin from United Brokers have given a very good introduction for white beans. So this morning, I just give a very simple introduction for other color beans in China. Basically, China have roughly 900 to 1 million metric tons of total in quantity for each crop, because in China we only have one crop for most of beans. And the production area from northeast and to some southern province. And comparing USA, Canada, and some other main production countries, Chinese colored beans, basically, we have many varieties, but each item, the production is not so big. Most important item is one is black. We roughly have between 100 to 150 metric tons per year. Another one is LSKB. But we have several types of LSKB in China. One is mostly is a long shape. We mainly sold to like South Africa and India, and we also have some oval and round shape. Most of seeds were introduced from Canada and USA. And for the dark red and for the red, we also have a small quantity, and but we now we play quite an important role in the market. In China, most of color beans are for exporting uses, because for our local consumption, so we have started, but the quantity is still very limited. And but in the past few years, especially in some southern province, China developed quite fast for the canned industrial. So like some colored beans, like dark red, like light speckled, and some white, Chinese local industrial uses also more widely used. And but of course, some are for local consumption, to the hotel, to the restaurant, and some are for exporting. So these are the so we can see that the exporting could be roughly 90% of our colored beans, and the market is also quite wide from from our neighboring country to Japan, Korea. We have some exporting some traditional item like larger white, like some light speckled, and also but our main market for the most colored beans are to Europe and to South America, and in the past 2 or 3 years, we have a big challenge for Chinese colored beans production. I think there are 3 factors. One is that in the past, Chinese labor costs increased very fast, and it has bring a very big challenge for our colored beans production, because in China the colored beans producing still by the traditional way and during harvest and plantation, not comparing other soya, maize and rice. More and more machine used in the producing. So that's made our cost of beans is quite expensive, because in the past 5 years Chinese labor cost increased very sharply. Secondly, in China, our colored beans production did not get any aid from government and relative authorities. For example, like other items like grain, government can provide some financial aid from the government, and it will be a big part of income for the farmers. But for pulses, farmers cannot did anything, and it will bring many troubles for the also made very upset for the farmers. So that's also very uncertainty for the producing. Thirdly, because it's an exporting item, so they do not get full support from local market. So it's very difficult to forecast what should be the market, especially for Chinese beans. We are not the leadership for the pricing in the pulses. So for farmers, they cannot very confidence for the market situation when the harvest started. So even under such a situation, even price is quite high comparing in the past. I feel that farmers still not eager to expand more plantation in Chinese side. In my view, in long term, Chinese colored beans will reduce quantity we will lost most of our exporting market, except some item like black, like light speckled, and so that's a big challenge for our future industry for the colored beans. That's my brief introduction, and thank you very much.
I'm very happy to speak about Ethiopian color beans because in the last 10 years I lived more in Ethiopia compared in Italy, and I have also a big responsibility in Ethiopia because I don't have only a factory, but I have also a school. This is the map of Ethiopia. This is the place where we produce color beans. It's the north, like from cream beans, like speckled, red, small red, and black beans, and the south, the same, small red and pinto. Okay. This is the production for 2011 and 20. Oh, is it too fast? Okay. For 2011 and 2012, 2011 we have more than 50,000 metric tons of export, close to 60, and 2012 we export close to 70,000 metric tons. And this is the different kind of beans. We have, for example, cream beans is a new variety for the world. And the first we export the first country is Portugal, and then is Angola, etc. This is for pinto beans. The first country is we export is Pakistan, and then Angola. Then we have like speckled kidney beans. The same. We have the first country is Pakistan, then is Italy, and this is the small red beans is more important for Ethiopia, and we have in this case is Kenya, and the first country. Then we have India, Pakistan, and now we start also to have good quantity in Russia. Now I would like to speak also about the export of color beans from Argentina. I'm happy to speak about Argentina because Argentina is a very friendly country of Italy. Argentinian people are half Italian and half Spanish people, and but the most important Argentinian people now live in Italy. And just a moment. Yeah. This is, in this case, I have the export not per year, but for season. This is the total export 2011-2012. We are more than 200,000 metric tons we export. This is the different product, is cranberry beans. The cranberry beans, the first country is Italy, then is Spain, Brazil, Croatia. And this is for dark red kidney. Dark red kidney, the first country is Brazil, then Spain, Italy. And for light red, the first country for export is Venezuela, Panama, Portugal. And of course, for black beans, we have black beans, we have the big production of black beans, and we export to Brazil in 2011, 2012, like 140,000 metric tons. And now I show you the slide of the color beans import in Europe. We import in Europe the last 5 years between 100,000, 150,000, 170,000 color beans from different parts of the world. China, USA, Canada, Argentina, Ethiopia, but also Peru, Madagascar, etc. This is, if I show you the slide, not the numbers, because maybe if you need the numbers, I have the number in our website. And thank you very much thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be invited to be a member of this panel. And I'm going to give you a few ideas about the color beans in Spain. The main two color beans varieties used in Spain are black beans and direct kidney beans. And the different purposes are, for different purposes we use normally different origins. For canning, main origins are China, USA, Canada and Argentina. And for packaging, we normally use USA, Canada and Argentina. Spain used to be a production country for export in the late 70s and early 80s. But now, after the global markets opened, Spain began to import those products that were normally produced by our farmers. Still, there remains some local production, but just for special crops. Those are varieties with very local consumption, and especially in the north areas of Spain. There are three main varieties called Palmeña Tolosana, Roja Redonda, and Negra Tolosana, which are consumed mainly from the months from September to March, April, depending a lot on the weather. Most of them are produced under control of geographic restricted production boards, as they are very small productions. As my previous colleagues presented, we are also facing a big problem to get our growers to grow beans. For the same reason they commented, cereals are harming our production. We still produce in Spain not only beans, but some lentils and chickpeas, and in different areas. In the north of Spain, where the irrigation areas are, we produce beans, and we have to fight against corn. In the middle of Spain, we still produce some lentils, and we have to convince growers to grow lentils instead of wheat and barley. And in the south of Spain, the problem to grow chickpeas is the high price of sunflower. As I commented, the Spanish origin beans are sold in high quality shops as gourmet shops and traditional small shops like groceries. It's a high quality product. Consumers consider that local production has high quality than the foreign origin. Foreign origin normally is sold in supermarkets with a lower price than local production. The consumption these last 2 years, in my opinion, has gone down on beans and has gone up on lentils because of price. As we are facing a quite big financial crisis and economic crisis in Spain, consumers try to buy cheaper products such as lentils and small caliber chickpeas. You can get in the supermarket almost 2 kilos of lentils for the price of 1 kilo of color beans. And this is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentations, and I think you've raised a lot of interesting points. As we look at trying to maintain acreage in colored bean production, we do have some challenges going forward. One of those challenges, as we've talked about, has been the basis of competing crops, as in corn and soybeans. Maybe even some lentils may compete in trying to get beans grown. That's okay, because that protein is very similar. One of the questions that I've asked the panelists along the way is certain concerns about seed. In the US, we look at the production of corn and soybeans and saying, you know, we've seen genetics in seed that have made a big difference in how their yields are, and how we have to look at our own bean seed production and wonder how we can transfer some good genetics back to our crop. But I think it may be that China and Ethiopia have even more severe concerns about seed. And Mr. Zhang, could you address seed concerns in China?
Yeah, in China we have more difficulties for the beans production, and just I mentioned in a presentation that farmers are not confident for the plantation of for the beans, and we only mostly in some areas fit for the color beans plantation, because some rotation issue and something possible they will continue. For most of the area, possible they will reduce the reduction. But of course, it depends on the price and from the return from the plantation. Yeah.
Remo, could you also talk about seed in Ethiopia and how you help your farmers with obtaining better seed stocks?
Yeah. You know, in poor country like Ethiopia, usually the farmers they use the seeds, the wastage, because they sell everything, and then they use what they cannot sell. So first we start to speak with the farmers, the cooperative in Ethiopia, and to buy everything, and then to give the seeds for the new season. So, but first, you know, we need time, because the seeds is very important, because for the quality, if you have good seeds, you can have good result and good quality.
And I think that's much of our concern globally, is to be able to increase our production, not only with better yields for existing land, but how do we bring forth more interest in growing dry beans, peas, and lentils as we go forward. I'm very excited about opportunities that the Year of the Pulse may bring us as we look at what our goals are ahead, and to increase vegetable protein in the next number of years, and looking at everything that we'll need to focus on to have that larger production available. At this time, I'm curious if any of you have any questions for any of our panelists. And remember, what we've talked about today is basically a projection of what we're looking for 2013. There's a lot of time In the US and Canada, before we do plant, there seems to be quite a fair amount of snow on the ground and cold soil temperatures. So it may be a little while before the crop goes in and before different thought processes happen if we don't warm up in time and maybe planting some other crops. But right now, these are our best guesses. But are there any questions from the audience? Gentlemen, do you have anything for each other?
I have one question for Ethiopian production. And I have a question, I have also the answer. Now, because a lot of people ask me why I have a factory in a poor country and I go in poor country to export beans. No? And not all the people know that, for example, in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian people, they don't like to eat beans. They prefer to eat meat. So if we are in Ethiopia for business, but also we help the country because we start to export quantity and come back, you say dollar inside the country. So in this case, it's not to take the food of poor country, but to give more money. This is important, I think, to explain about the poor country.
I think that's very interesting because, as you mentioned, the ability to bring dollars back into an economy and to have a better standard of living that is coming from the exports is very noble. I also want to commend you on the work that you've done, not only in bringing value back, but on education and the fact that your company has started a school to take care of educating the children of your workforce, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. Thank you.
Can the panel give their views on the use of GM seeds? What do you think about the use of GM seeds?
Sir, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Can the panel give their views on the use of GM seeds, genetically modified seeds, to increase production?
You're asking if we would use genetically modified seeds to increase production.
Yeah.
You know, that's a real interesting question. As we've looked at that globally, and we see some countries that are totally in opposition, and other countries that see it as a major benefit. Let me ask one of the panelists what they would think. Would any of you? Eric?
Fortunately not. Because we would have major issues on the marketing side. And as I explained a little bit in my presentation, we basically lose ground to the, on the genetic side, on the research side, to these grains like corn and soybeans. Our production are too small for these companies to basically invest in the research for genetically modified. So at least we don't have to cope with this problem, which might be more a devil than the solution.
China being such a large market, and I mean, what do the Chinese think about the use of GM seeds?
I'm sorry, sir.
What do the Chinese think about the usage of GM seeds?
What would your country think of? What would China think of using GMO seeds?
Yeah, in China, I think we have not a very good seeds industrial because most farmers use last generation seed for next one. So that's also a big challenge for Chinese colored beans quality because most of our seeds were introduced many years before, and now generation by generation, it's the quality has reduced a lot, and also including the color, size, yeah, become smaller. So now also many dealers and our colleagues are pushing government to find more scientific supports for this industrial to promote our seeds and to get a better quality. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
How many tons are available in China of black beans for the Brazilian, Venezuela, and now the possibility of Mexican market?
Actually, I have a PPT. We have very simple for the figures. China roughly producing, in our view, last crop is 130,000 to 150,000 metric tons. And we also have some carryover from 2011 crop. So to Brazil, in our statistics from January 2012 to January 2013, we roughly export 170,000 metric tons of black, but big colored beans to Brazil. In my view, the black should be roughly 80%. So we can see roughly 130 to 40,000 metric tons. Venezuela, I think roughly 90,000 metric tons. That's a rough figure we get from customs statistics.
Yes.
Yeah, but how many tons are left in China?
You mean now
available?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question because from our side we have no official statistics, and but in our view, the stock position should be roughly 50,000 to 80,000 metric tons, more or less. Of course, now we have many Chinese colleagues. If you have more accurate figures, possibly you can change.
You can all meet in the hallway afterwards and discuss this. I'm sure everyone has a slightly different opinion. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, we're right on time, gentlemen. I'd like to thank each of you for your time in putting your reports together. Mr. Zhang's numbers did not come up on the slide presentation, but they'll be posted on the CICILS website later if you would like to take a look. But again, thank you for the four of you and your information and the time that you've taken to put it together and present it.
Remo Pedon. Zhang Ji. And last but not the least, Eric de Françoisi. May I please request Executive Director CICILS to step forward and do us the honors for Sunday. Gavin.
While I'm here, I'd like to just quickly take the opportunity to let you know that for the Pulse Breeding Australia, which is the national organisation responsible for all the plant breeding for pulses that goes on in Australia, is having its first conference in October this year, and it's going to bring together all the plant breeders, the other researchers in Australia who are looking at genomics and so on, along with marketers in Australia and of course the growers. And this will be a very big conference and you are all welcome to come to it. I've got some brochures here, and Peter Semler, who is on the organising committee for that, is out in the foyer at the moment. He has some brochures. If you're interested in attending, and it will be a great conference, please come and get one of these brochures with all the details on it.
I would just like to specify one thing. There is a slide which I didn't present. I forgot it, sorry. It's about the export, but you will see it on the website. I just want to specify the export figures which you will see on that slide are for the crop year, not the civil year. So it's more accurate, we think, on the crop year. And of course, the 2012 is only halfway through. Okay. Okay, thank you.